SNAP, Tylenol, voting, Ninth Circuit, and South America. As you can tell, we'll be talking about a bunch of topics today. They're all hinged upon what Donald Trump's regime is doing to our country and to the world. So welcome to Law and Society. Please subscribe. First of all, SNAP is scheduled to run out of money on November 1st, which means millions and millions of Americans are going to go hungry. They're not going to have enough assistance to make ends meet. To that end, I have provided a list of resources at the bottom of the description box that, after references, that has food banks in the greater Chicago area, greater Lansing area in Michigan, posts from Fred Wellman about Missouri's 2nd District, and a few other places where you can donate money for food banks or where you can find food. I want to make it clear, and I know it's tough, but there is no shame in needing food assistance at this time. What is happening in America right now is unprecedented, and there is no shame in standing in line to get food because you need it, because your government has let you down. So please go to the resources in the description box. If you are in the northern eastern Illinois area, in the mid-central Michigan area, if you're in the eastern Illinois or west Missouri area, then there's information about food banks. Also, if you are watching this and if you have information about food banks, food pantries, food kitchens that are in your area, please leave the links for that in the comment boxes so I may be able to include them in my resource list. This is a time that we all need to come together to help in any way that we can. We know that states like Illinois and California and New York are going to provide help to people who are losing their SNAP benefits, but a state like Missouri won't. And that's why going to Fred Wellman's posts and helping out Missourians in Congressional District 2, which is what we have access to for now, we can provide that help. So, moving on to the second topic, in one of his perhaps less smart moves, Texas Attorney General has sued Tylenol because of alleged links between Tylenol and pregnant women and children. Their basis is Donald Trump's HHS, led by Bobby Jr., making the unsubstantiated, non-scientific claim that Tylenol causes autism. I believe that this case will end badly for Texas. And I really can't, unless there's massive corruption in the judiciary that does not allow in the fact-finding level to find the facts about whether Tylenol actually does harm people or not, I don't see it as a winning case for Texas. But, let Texas do Texas. Next on to voting. As Professor Heather Cox Richardson has said many times, there are a number of elections happening all around the country. So pick your election. Remember to vote this November in a week or so. Remember to vote. And remember to vote yes on Prop 50 in California. That will allow Californians to give their government power to redistrict in the mid of the decade to counter electoral insurrection that is going on in states like Texas and Indiana at the direction of Donald Trump. despite the fact that presidents have no power or any say in how elections are held in the various states. The Constitution gives that power to the states and to Congress. So we are seeing here an executive overreach going into state sovereignty, and Texas and Indiana are not going to resist that, but it does bode poorly for our democracy. And so vote yes on Prop 50 in California so we can balance some of that out, some of that, constitutional electoral insurrection that Donald Trump is waging against our country right now. This is the way to push back. Then there are two governor races in Virginia and in New Jersey. Abigail Spanberger in Virginia and Mickey Sherrill in New Jersey. And we need to keep those governor's mansions in order to have democratic governance in these states that are responsible as opposed to being irresponsible and tools of Donald Trump's fascist regime. So it's important that you vote for these Democratic candidates and the Democratic cause, small d here, to keep our republic. News broke today that the Ninth Circuit, the en banc Ninth Circuit of 29 judges, which is massive, has agreed to rehear the case of Judge Immergut that stopped the deployment of National Guard into Portland. So that means the ruling by the Ninth Circuit, the 2-1 ruling, is vacated, and as it stands now, Judge Immergut's temporary restraining order continues until the Ninth Circuit hears and rules on the temporary restraining order, because they have to consider the constitutional provisions that are in question and the seriousness of both constitutional violations of individuals as well as the prerogatives of the state to not deploy National Guard without the consent of the state when there is no factual showing of anything that falls within the federal power to activate the state militia without the state governor's consent. The last topic is South America. There's something happening in South America, and Donald Trump has come out and said that, we are not going to be politically correct if there's a war. We will beat that. We will defeat our enemies and not be politically correct about it. So essentially saying we'll be savages and we're going to destroy everything if there is a war. Therefore threatening that. And at the same time, he has moved an aircraft carrier fleet off the coast of South America for some reason or another. Now, that war talk with the moving of the South American fleet, and then you have Donald Trump's dealings with Venezuela, where now news has come out of Donald's regime trying to get Maduro out of Venezuela to depose that regime. And then you have Donald Trump's friendliness with Javier Milei of Argentina, who is a dictator. And then you have this announcement from Brazil saying, President Lula saying that Donald Trump has assured trade deals with Brazil. And then there's Central America, El Salvador, Donald Trump's friend Bukele, who is going to allow Donald Trump to use CICOT as his human trafficking prison, or at least he has. We don't know if he's going to in the future or not. So with all of these things happening, and then the sanctions on Colombia and the stopping of aid from Colombia because the president of Colombia, President Petro, called out Donald Trump's indiscriminate boat bombings in the Atlantic Ocean. We are seeing Donald Trump moving on several South American countries in an erratic manner, animously towards Colombia and towards Venezuela, sort of trade relations with Brazil, and then friendliness with the new dictator of Argentina, Milei, and the new dictator of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele. So what is happening here? Is it because of the resources that South America has? South America has lithium resources and gold resources and iron ore resources. And Venezuela, of course, has oil, massive oil production power. And Colombia is the biggest exporter of emeralds and other mining resources. There's boron and all of these other mining facilities all over South America. So is Donald Trump posturing himself to control South American states and thereby have viable trade relationship with South America that can offset some of the lithium battery production materials or some of the other raw materials for steel production like iron ore from South America? Maybe that is the real reason, or maybe he's just doing his crazy thing. We don't know. But there's something happening with South America, and it would serve us all well to keep an eye out to see what is happening, because Donald Trump is sort of abandoned Canada as one of our oldest allies in trade relationships, and he is trying to do something of dominating South America. He hasn't been able to cajole Mexico yet, but that's because of President Sheinbaum of Mexico, who is dealing with Donald Trump in a very, very diplomatic way. So, with that said, keep your eyes on South America. Keep your eyes on the Ninth Circuit and how it rules of what will happen with the National Guard, because that's going to impact a lot more states than just California. Ninth Circuit covers a lot of states. The western quarter of the United States of America is the Ninth Circuit. It's a big circuit. It's a very important circuit. It's important to see what their ruling is by the 29 judges that are sitting on this particular TRO ruling. They see the importance of it. If the message is anything from the Ninth Circuit, is that we think it is important enough that we look at the temporary restraining order and all of the constitutional considerations before we stop the lower court from doing what it's doing. Make sure if you're in the states where there are votes happening this November that you go out and vote for the big D Democrat candidates, because they are standing up for little d democracy and keeping our republic. Lastly, if you are in a position that if you need help for food, do not feel ashamed at this time. Millions of Americans are in the same position that you are. You are not alone, and there will be help available. As I've said before, if you don't know of any food banks or food pantries or food kitchens in your area, what you can do is Google food pantry near me, or Google food bank near me, or Google food kitchen near me. And there's usually at least one in your neighborhood, in your township, or in your city, or in the greater city area where you live. With that said, Stay strong, watch out for one another, and I'll talk to you soon. Do remember to like, share, and subscribe if you like what you see and hear. Take care, everybody.